Tonight, perhaps the house feels a little quieter than it once did. Maybe there was a time when every room carried the sound of laughter, the busy footsteps, conversations around the table, or voices calling your name. And now, as evening settles softly around you, there are moments when the silence seems to linger a little longer. Perhaps your children are busy building lives of their own. Perhaps messages arrive less often than they once did. Perhaps retirement changed more than your schedule. Perhaps it changed the way you see yourself. For many years, you were needed every day. Someone depended on your wisdom, your strength, your presence. And now, without saying it aloud, you may sometimes wonder if anyone notices when you are missing. Maybe there are stories inside your heart that no one asks about anymore. Memories of people you loved, dreams you once carried, sacrifices that shaped entire generations. And somewhere deep inside, there may be a quiet ache that whispers, "Have I become invisible?" If that feeling has visited you, even for a moment, please know that you are not alone. These feelings are more common than most people ever admit, and Jesus already knows the pain you rarely speak about. He knows the loneliness hidden behind your smile. He knows the evenings when you sit quietly, remembering days that seemed fuller, brighter, and closer. And tonight, before sleep gently closes your eyes, Jesus wants you to know that He has never once looked away from you. For a long time, you may have believed that feeling forgotten meant something had changed about your worth, that perhaps age had made you less visible, less important, less needed. But Jesus sees your life differently. Tonight, imagine Him sitting beside you in the quietness of your room. There is no rush, no expectation, only gentleness, only understanding, only the comforting presence of someone who truly knows what it feels like to be left behind. Jesus understands rejection. He knows what it is like to love deeply and still watch people walk away. He knows the sorrow of being misunderstood. He remembers the night in the garden when those closest to Him could not stay awake beside Him. He knows the pain of seeing friends grow distant. He knows the ache of being denied by someone He loved. He knows what it means to carry suffering silently while others fail to notice. And perhaps that is why He comes so near to lonely hearts. Not because loneliness is a sign that something is wrong with you, but because loneliness often becomes a sacred place where His presence feels closest. Maybe there have been seasons when you felt overlooked, birthdays that seemed quieter, phone calls that never came, days when you wondered whether anyone truly remembered how much you once gave, how much you sacrificed, or how faithfully you loved. Jesus remembers. He remembers every act of kindness, every prayer whispered in the dark, every tear that never reached another person's eyes. And tonight, as the night grows still around you, you do not have to carry the feeling of being forgotten by yourself anymore, because perhaps some of the deepest wounds we carry are the ones no one else has ever noticed. Some wounds never announce themselves. They live quietly beneath the surface, hidden behind polite smiles, kind words, and the habit of saying, "I'm doing fine." And perhaps you have carried some of those wounds for many years. The loss of a husband or wife whose presence once filled the home with warmth, friends who slowly disappeared, not through conflict, but simply because time moved forward and life changed. Adult children who still love you, yet seem far away in ways that are difficult to explain. Dreams that once felt certain, but unfolded differently than you imagined. The strength you once had that now seems to require a little more effort each day. Maybe you have learned to keep moving forward because that is what you have always done. You showed up for others. You encouraged people when your own heart needed encouragement. You listened when no one stopped to ask how you were feeling. And little by little, you became accustomed to carrying your sadness quietly. Perhaps there are memories you revisit only when no one is around. Old photographs, favorite songs, familiar voices you can still hear in your mind. Moments that remind you how deeply you have loved and how deeply you have lost. And if tears come sometimes, even after all these years, there is no shame in that. Jesus is not asking you to hide your tears tonight. He is not asking you to pretend you are stronger than you feel. He welcomes every sorrow, every disappointment, every unanswered question, every ache you have kept tucked away inside your heart, because the one who heals the brokenhearted already knows the pain beneath the smile. And once our hearts become honest before God, we can begin releasing the worries we were never meant to carry alone. For so long, perhaps you have been carrying concerns that quietly follow you from morning until night. Thoughts about your health, appointments on the calendar, test results you are waiting for, questions about finances, concerns about whether what you have saved will be enough, worries about grandchildren growing up in a world that feels different from the one you knew. And somewhere beneath it all, perhaps there is an unspoken fear about the future itself, a fear of becoming dependent, a fear of being a burden, a fear of facing difficult days without the people you once leaned upon. These worries are deeply human. They do not mean your faith is weak. They simply reveal how much your heart still loves, still hopes, and still longs for security. But tonight, Jesus gently reminds you that tomorrow does not belong to you. Tomorrow belongs to God, and tonight belongs to rest. Perhaps you can imagine yourself sitting beside him, holding many small burdens in your hands. On everyone, without hurry. You begin placing them into his care. Your health, your family, your unanswered questions, your future, your fears, your loneliness, the things you can change, and the things you cannot. There is no pressure to solve anything right now. No need to carry next week's concerns into this quiet evening. As your breathing slows, allow your shoulders to soften. Allow your thoughts to become gentler. Allow yourself to remember that you were never created to live in constant vigilance. You were created to be loved, to be cared for, to be held by a God who never sleeps and never grows weary. And when our hands finally loosen their grip, we discover that Jesus has been waiting all along to carry what has been weighing us down. And perhaps, for the first time in a long while, you can allow yourself to stop holding everything so tightly. There is no need to rush, no expectation that you must suddenly feel better, only an invitation to rest in the presence of someone who has always known exactly how heavy your heart has become. Imagine Jesus sitting beside you now, calm, patient, gentle. His presence feels safe, like a warm light in a quiet room at the end of a long day. He looks at you with tenderness, not disappointment, with compassion, not judgment. And in the stillness of this moment, perhaps you can hear his loving voice whispering softly, "Give me your grief. You have carried it faithfully for many years. Give me the names you still miss speaking aloud. Give me the empty places at the table. Give me the memories that bring both comfort and tears. Give me your disappointments, the prayers that seemed unanswered, the relationships that became strained, the hopes that unfolded differently than you expected. Give me your loneliness, the evenings that feel too quiet, the longing to feel remembered, the ache of wondering if anyone truly notices your absence. Give me your fears about growing older, your concerns about tomorrow, your questions about what lies ahead. Beloved child, you have carried these burdens long enough. You do not have to carry them by yourself anymore. And perhaps as you place them gently into his hands, something within you begins to loosen. Your breathing becomes deeper. Your mind becomes quieter. Your heart no longer feels responsible for holding together what only God can sustain. You are not giving up. You are giving over. You are allowing yourself to be cared for, to be comforted, to be loved. Because when our burdens are placed in his hands, his promises begin to feel alive again. And perhaps that is what your heart has been longing for all along. Not more answers, not more strength, not more reasons to keep striving, but the quiet assurance that you have always been remembered, even during seasons when life felt strangely empty, even during evenings when the house seemed too still, even during days when it appeared as though the world had moved forward without noticing all that you had given. God remembers. He remembers the years you spent caring for others, the meals you prepared, the prayers you whispered over sleeping children, the sacrifices no one ever thanked you for, the moments when you chose faithfulness, even when no one was watching. He remembers every tear that fell in private, every lonely evening, every conversation you had with him when there was no one else to talk to. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been overlooked. Nothing has slipped from his loving attention. Perhaps age has changed many things. Perhaps your routines are different now. Perhaps your days feel quieter than they once did. But your value has never diminished. Your purpose has never disappeared. You are still deeply cherished, still wonderfully known, still called beloved. Jesus does not measure your worth by how busy you are, how many people depend upon you, or how often your phone rings. He delights in you simply because you belong to him. You are not forgotten. You are engraved upon his heart, held within his care, remembered with tenderness in every season of your life. And maybe tonight, as these truths settle softly into your soul, you can begin to believe them again. Because when we discover that we are remembered by God, even the memories that once felt painful can slowly begin to heal. Perhaps there are memories you rarely visit anymore, not because they no longer matter, but because they still carry a quiet tenderness within them. Moments from childhood when you wished someone had understood you more deeply, words spoken in anger that remained in your heart long after they were said, relationships that changed in ways you never expected, missed opportunities, dreams that never unfolded as you once imagined, people you loved who could not give you the love you needed, and perhaps, over time, you learned to place these memories on a shelf somewhere inside yourself, hoping that keeping them hidden would make them hurt less. But Jesus is gentle with wounded places. He does not force open old doors. He simply stands beside you, inviting you to walk with him at a pace that feels safe. Imagine him entering those memories with you, not to erase them, not to pretend they never happened, but to remind you that you were never truly alone inside them. He sits beside the younger version of you who felt unseen. He comforts the heart that carried disappointment. He speaks peace into moments that once felt abandoned. And little by little, what once seemed defined only by pain begins to hold something new: compassion, understanding, grace. Perhaps the people who hurt you were carrying wounds of their own. Perhaps you have spent years blaming yourself for things that were never yours to carry. Tonight, Jesus invites you to release that burden, to offer yourself the same kindness you so freely give to others, to recognize that healing does not mean forgetting. Healing means no longer carrying yesterday in the same way. And as old pain becomes lighter, peace can slowly settle over the place where you live tonight. Perhaps, if you listen closely tonight, you can hear the gentle quietness that settles over your home after the day has finally come to an end. The dishes have been put away. The lights are softer now. The sounds of the outside world seem farther away. And within this peaceful stillness, imagine the loving presence of Jesus, moving gently through every room. He walks through the bedroom where you seek rest each night. He brings comfort to the place where worries often linger after the lights are turned off. He moves through hallways that have witnessed years of laughter, celebrations, ordinary moments, and difficult seasons. He pauses beside family photographs, faces that have shaped your life, people who remain close, people who live far away, people whose absence is still deeply felt. Even the empty chairs seem different tonight, not empty in a lonely way, but sacred, filled with memories of love that never truly disappears. Jesus understands every memory attached to these spaces, every joy, every goodbye, every hope, every tear. And perhaps you can imagine a gentle warmth spreading through your home, a quiet peace resting over the kitchen, over the living room, over the windows that watched countless seasons pass by, over the bedroom where you now prepare for sleep. He watches over your children, your grandchildren, your friends, your neighbors, those who are struggling, those who are grieving, those whose names are quietly carried within your heart. You do not need to stay awake protecting everyone tonight. You do not need to keep watch over every possible outcome. Jesus is already present. His peace surrounds this home. His love fills every room. His care extends to every person you hold dear. And now, with the house quiet and the heart becoming still, there is only one thing left to do before sleep arrives. And perhaps this moment is a gift your heart has needed for a very long time. A moment when there is nothing left to prove, nothing left to accomplish, nothing left to hold together. only an invitation to rest. Tonight, you do not have to be strong. You do not have to keep smiling when you feel weary. You do not have to carry the weight of being the dependable one. For so many years, you have cared for others. You have comforted people through loss. You have encouraged others when they felt discouraged. You have shown up, remained faithful, and continued loving, even when your own heart was quietly longing for someone to care for you in the same way. And tonight, Jesus cares for you. Tonight, you are the one being held, the one being comforted, the one being reminded that your life mattered, your story matters, your prayers matter, your years of faithfulness matter. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not too old to be cherished. You are not too weary to be loved. Jesus knows your name. He knows every chapter of your life, every sacrifice, every hidden tear, every hope that still remains within you, and He remains close, closer than your worries, closer than your loneliness, closer than the fears that sometimes visit in the middle of the night. As your breathing becomes slower, allow your thoughts to become quieter. Allow your shoulders to soften. Allow your heart to settle into the safety of being deeply known. You do not have to earn this love. You simply receive it. You are held securely within divine kindness. You are safe tonight. You are remembered tonight. And now, let your breathing become slower. Your thoughts become quieter. And your heart rest gently in the arms of Jesus. Dear Jesus, thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you for remaining close during the seasons when I felt overlooked, forgotten, or unseen. Thank you for knowing the quiet places of my heart that I have never fully shared with anyone else. Thank you for remembering every year of faithfulness, every sacrifice, every prayer, every act of love, every tear that fell when no one was watching. Tonight, I bring before you those who feel lonely, those who sit in quiet homes, those who miss voices they once heard every day, those who wonder if they still matter, those who fear growing older, those who carry grief that still feels tender, those who long to feel remembered. Wrap them in your peace. Remind them that they are deeply loved. Remind them that they are still precious in your sight. Remind them that they have never been forgotten. Thank you for seeing what others may not see. Thank you for valuing what the world sometimes overlooks. Thank you for staying near when life changes and familiar things fade. Tonight, I release my fears. I release my loneliness. I release my disappointments. I release the questions I cannot answer. I release the burdens I was never meant to carry alone. And in their place, I receive your comfort. I receive your presence. I receive your peace. Jesus remembers me. Jesus sees me. Jesus stays with me. I am loved. I am safe. I am held. I do not have to be afraid. I do not have to carry tomorrow. I do not have to earn your love. I can rest now. I can breathe deeply now. I can sleep peacefully now. Because I am known. I am remembered. I am cherished. And I am never alone. Amen. You were never forgotten. You have always been seen. And tonight, as you sleep, Jesus watches over you with a love that never grows weary, never grows distant, and never lets go.